The school year is ending. There is only 2 weeks left. There is no more book checkout, and somehow you have to survive all your classes for the next 2 weeks. Today's video, I'm going to give you some hopefully valuable ideas that will help you make it through to the end. So let's go. So some of the activities that I'm going to share for you, you could use across any grade level, but as I share the activities with you, I will tell you what grade levels that I use these activities for and what worked best for me. But of course, you know your students and what will work with them. So let's get started. The first activity I used with the fifth graders, and those in my school district, fifth graders were the oldest in elementary school, and after fifth grade they were leaving and heading off to middle school. For that last week or two really, when we were no longer checking out books, I would send them to the computers and I would have them log in and queue up the website for the middle school. I would send them to the school website. I would tell them to look around, explore. They're very curious about middle school because it'll be the first year where they're changing classes. Look up the schedule of the different periods, to go to the tab where their clubs were, see the different kind of clubs that were offered, see if there were things that they were interested in, sports, just all the different pages, if the teachers had pages. Look at the guidance page, look up the lunch menu, all the things that they cared a lot about. And so that's what they would do. We only had 30-minute classes. By the time they headed over, logged in, got on the website and looked around, they usually could spend the whole 30 minutes searching through the website, talking about it to each other. Also, I had to be very flexible with the fifth grade the last couple of weeks because they had so many activities going on to celebrate the end of their time in elementary school, and they didn't always show up. So that was a good, safe activity to do with my outgoing fifth graders. Okay, so now I'll just head to the opposite end, to the kindergarten and first graders. Once they stopped checking out books, I had to come up with activities for them for the last 2 weeks to keep them engaged. And so one of the things I did was I would go to highlights.com. Maybe you know the magazine Highlights for Kids. One of the features in Highlights magazines is called Hidden Pictures. They've been around for decades, and hidden pictures are always a favorite activity. And if you go to Highlights magazine website, they have hidden pictures on the line. I would queue up the website and I would have the hidden pictures all ready to go on the smart board, and the kids would sit at the table and they would look for the hidden pictures. So if one of them could see it from their seat and raise their hand, I would call on them and they would come up and touch the smart board, and it was very engaging. They really liked it because once they found the picture and they touched it, it would light up into color. If you have a school where kindergarten first graders maybe have their own Chromebooks or tablets, you could have them sit at the tables individually or pair up with a friend, which they love to do, and do it on the Chromebooks or the tablets. I did not have dedicated Chromebooks for the library, so we would just use the smart board. And so that would easily take up 30 minutes to do a few hidden pictures. One end of the year activity that I would do the last couple of weeks, and I would do this with every grade level if I had the time or I needed a week to fill in, and that was to talk about the public library and everything that they offered in the summertime. Now, our public library, they would schedule with myself and my principal a time where they would come, usually a couple of weeks before the school year ended, and they would have an assembly for the grades where they introduced the summer reading club and told the kids all about that. So I would, reinforce that, tell the kids about that, which they were always interested in because it came with prizes, it came with an end of the summer celebration. But I would remind them of all the things that the library had to offer the summer, besides just the summer reading club, but just the activities, the kinds of programs they could sign up for, the fact that there was always AC in the library, and that there was just a lot of play areas and things for them to do. Spending that one period just talking about the summer reading programs and the public library. That works with every grade level. The next activity I did with second graders, but you could also do it with third, fourth graders, whatever grade that seems most appropriate with you. Second graders, at the end of second grade, they were just really learning how to log in and type on the computer. I really wanted them to practice logging into the school computers and just having practice typing a little, getting familiar with the keyboard. What I would do is ask them to reflect on what second grade was like and think about what they thought of second grade on the first day of second grade and everything that they learned since then. Now that they finished second grade, what it was that they liked the best about second grade, what happened in second grade maybe they didn't expect. And I would have them pair up with a partner and type a letter on a Word doc to a first grade student. Now, I told them if they personally knew someone in first grade, maybe a sibling or a cousin or a neighbor, and they wanted to write to a specific student, they could, but otherwise they could just do, "Dear first grader." And then I would just have them type a letter explaining to the first graders what they can expect to happen in second grade. Like, what were the fun things they did? What did they learn? Anything they could brainstorm and come up with that they felt was important to share with the first grade students. We would do that one week, and if there was a second week and they wanted to continue with their letter, they could. But usually they could get 2 or 3 sentences at the minimum typed up by the end of the period, and then I would allow them to print it and then deliver the letters to the first grade teachers to share with the first grade students. So that was always a positive activity. They loved it, and that really could be any grade. That's the grade that I used it in, but you could use that with, across multiple grades. The next activity also could be used for multiple grades. I use this with third and fourth graders, and especially I always did this with the third graders because I learned over the years of teaching when I taught in the classroom, but especially when I taught in the library, that the grade that really loves the books and loves checking out books more than any other grade is third grade. I think it's because that by third grade they've gotten past most of the hard work of learning how to read, like phonics and decoding, and where reading feels like work. But now they were a little more capable, a little more fluent, and so they really, really loved checking out books more than any other grade. So what I would do is all year long, I would save those catalogs, the ones that you get from the book publishers, the ones you get from Follett, that just list all the books available, and they're very colorful, and they have to hold up pictures with the grade levels. They have everything sorted by genre, but just catalogs and catalogs. Every time you would walk down to your mailbox, every other day, there would be a catalog from some publishing company in there or vendor. So I would save those all year long for the kids to look through. and I would use them myself, but then I would just save them in a box. That last week I would just spread them all out on a big table with some markers and tell the kids that I'm making my book order over the summer for next year's book order, and I needed their help. I wanted them to look through and circle anything that looked exciting to them or that they think I should buy. That's what I offered out to them for that 30 minutes, and they would grab all the catalogs and look through. All these activities, almost all of them that I'm sharing with you, are really meant to be social activities, not quiet activities, because at the end of the year, the kids are so excited about the summer, but they also just love sharing with their friends. And this is the time of the year where finally they can just spend the whole period just talking with their friends. And by giving them the catalogs, they're talking and socializing with their friends, but they're talking about books, so all good. Not only is it fun for the kids to be shopping for next year's books, but also insightful for me because some students really shared a lot of very insightful information and helped me. I always had a pretty good idea of what books to order because you never have that much money in a public school for next year's books to begin with. It's so easy to spend it in your head, but I really liked hearing the feedback from the kids, so it was also helpful for me as well. The last activity I had kind of as a default, it was almost like a station set up that even when I was doing the other activities I've already mentioned before this, I would still have this set up in case there was someone, for whatever reason, that didn't join in the other activities or finished quickly or was bored in 10 minutes and needed something more. I always had a backup activity. So you could use this as a backup activity or you could use it as the entire activity, depending on the kids and the grade. But I would always have a table with art supplies, markers, colored pencils, crayons, and bookmarks, cut up bookmarks that I would cut up out of old scrap paper, construction paper. I worked with wonderful art teachers and they would always save their scrap paper for me, or if I could get a sleeve of cardstock and just cut it up into bookmark shapes and just leave the blank bookmarks and the art supplies on the table so the kids could sit and color and make themselves a bookmark for their summer reading. That was always a favorite activity because sometimes the kids just want to sit and talk to each other and color. And on the last week or two of school, that was a perfectly acceptable thing for them to do. Because I have classes right up to the last minute of the last day of school, you really need to have things like this planned. I was never one to want to put on a movie or a video. I like to have them actively engaged in something because even though there's value in videos and movies, I always feel like a lot of times they're going to be doing almost too much of that over the summer, and let them talk to their friends and do something active one last time. So that's it. And if you like this video, if you would like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And as always, don't forget to support your public library, support your independent bookstores, and support your right to read. See you next time.